Pure Romance Shockwave against Got Moss Punk. Now, Got Moss Punk has not produced anything as of yet.
And unfortunately, like, the NFL has them ranked at least 20 some odd points above.
They got him to win the football game.
Right.
And that's not the only time they've got him to win the football game. They got him to win the football game a couple times, but he has not yet succeeded.
He has not produced.
For beating the Parade Pit Bulls, which is very
It's an unfortunate. That happened last season too.
Very difficult for me to say.
Is there some kind of, I don't know what to call it. I don't even know what to call it.
Is that a loss for words?
Yeah.
Dick Man is at a loss for words.
This guy has something, I don't know, some voodoo or something. He just can't win.
And let me tell you, I'm picking the Pure Romance Shockwave to beat the Got Moss Punk this week. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next team, which are the Mean Machine and the Kendall Killer Cats. Now, you're very familiar with this football game, obviously, because you are the coach, president, GM, owner, manager of the football team. And I don't know what else to say. If they lose one more football game, they're done.
I'm done. You're absolutely right. I can lose maybe one or two more, but not back-to-back. If it happens back-to-back, then, I mean, you can pretty much count them out.
Listen, Urethra, I think if you lose one more football game, you're completely done, and I think that's going to be it for you for the season.
No, because if you think about it, I'm only one game down in my division.
Mean Machine has not
nobody, and he won't beat nobody, and he won't beat the Killer Cat.
He still beats people, and I think he'll take you on. I think
well,
he's
I'm
going to
sorry,
beat you.
the Sphincter Pit Bulls think otherwise.
I'm choosing the Mean Machine to win over the Kendall Killer Cats this week. Next, we're going to move on to the Jacksonville Stunners and the Lady Scorpios. Now, the Lady Scorpios...
Well, the Jacksonville Losers and the Lady Scorpios with the Stinger, bam.
It's going to be
They're going to come up, and the Jacksonville Stunners are going to suffer a tremendous loss.
I'm going to pick the Jacksonville Stunners to win this football game because the Lady Scorpios have fallen off in the last couple of weeks. They're on a losing streak, and I think they're going to continue on. We're going to move on to the New York Suns and the Dog Catchers. Now, the Dog Catchers have had a very weak team all year round, and the New York Suns have stepped up like the Gambino family.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Dog Catchers should be paramedics because this whole team has fallen apart, and they're ended up taken off the field.
Folks, you take that analogy how you want. I'm picking the New York Suns to win this one, just like John Gotti took down Paul Castellano in front of Sparks Steakhouse. We're going to move on now to the Bone Crushers and the Fearsome Force. Now, the Fearsome Force, in the beginning of the year, when they drafted, I thought they had a great football team, but the Bone Crushers have scored an abundance amount of points. They're leading the league in points scored, and they can even take it to the playoffs just because of that.
Yeah. This is something that should be talked about right now. You look at the names, the players that's on the team of the Bone Crushers, and you want to think he's putting up the points that he does. But week after week, game after game, this guy is the point leaders in the DIM Bowl 2008 league.
He loses, he wins, he still scores more points than anybody else. We're going to move on now to the Parade Pit Bulls and the Broon Dogs, or the Prune Dogs, or whatever you like to call them. Whatever you like to call them. I think, personally, that the Parade Pit Bulls are going to completely destroy these guys.
This is a tough game because every time you think the Broon Dogs or the Prune Dogs, etc., whatever you want to call them,
they come through.
You think they're not going to do something, but long behold, they come through. I mean, look, let's take week 6, for example. The guy was not expected to win. He was expected to lose, guaranteed, hands down. The guy came through and tied the game.
Not only that, but the Parade Pit Bulls have a bunch of players that are not playing this week. We've got some injuries. We've got some buys. They picked up a couple of players, but it's not really sure on how they're going to perform this week. It's going to be a tough game for the Parade Pit Bulls this week.
Yeah,
no doubt about
they're
it.
Struggling.
This is probably
they got the noose around the neck.
That's right. They've got the noose around their neck. And not only is that illegal, but let me tell you, this is probably their toughest game of the season for the Parade Pit Bulls. And that's how Kurt Dickel feels about it.
That's how it put it down.
Folks, thank you for joining us on our first installment of the FSDN Network, the Fantasy Sports Dog Network. We're glad that you have joined us. We've had a special guest star and a special guest analyst.
We had a couple callers.
We had a caller. I hope you enjoyed this segment. We're going to come back to you next week with our second segment, our second installment of this show, a ball sack what do you got to say for the people before we sign off?
Kurt Dogg out, urethra.
This is E-Double. Thank you for joining us. This is the FSDN Network. We'll see you next week.